Hey Pisces, I need to share something with you today that came through in this reading. And honestly, when these cards started appearing, I felt this immediate shift in energy. You know those moments when you can just sense that something significant is unfolding? That is exactly what happened when I laid these cards out for you. So here is what I am seeing, and I want you to really take this in because this reading is about vindication, about truth coming to light, and about someone who tried to manipulate the narrative around you but ended up exposing themselves to exactly the wrong person. Or should I say, exactly the right person. Because Pisces, the universe has a funny way of making sure truth finds its way to those who need to hear it. Before I get into the cards, I just want to acknowledge something. If you have been feeling like someone has been working behind the scenes to damage your reputation, to paint you in a negative light, to make sure certain people saw you in a distorted way, this reading is going to validate everything you have been sensing. You are not paranoid. You are not imagining things. Your intuition, which as a Pisces is probably one of your strongest gifts, has been picking up on something very real. And what is about to unfold is going to show you that sometimes when people try to tear you down, they accidentally build you up in the eyes of the people who truly matter. Sometimes when they think they are closing doors for you, they are actually opening windows you did not even know existed. Let me show you what the cards are revealing. The first card that came through, and this appeared right at the beginning of the spread, is the Knight of Wands. Now, when I pulled this card, I immediately felt this aggressive, impulsive energy. This is someone who has been moving fast, acting without really thinking things through, driven by their own agenda and their own emotions. The Knight of Wands can be incredibly passionate and bold, but when this energy is misdirected or coming from a wounded place, it becomes reckless. This person, Pisces, has been on a mission. They have been actively, and I mean actively, trying to reach certain people to talk about you. This is not someone who is casually mentioning your name in conversation. This is someone who has been seeking out opportunities, creating situations, maybe even going out of their way to make sure specific individuals hear their version of your story. The Knight of Wands moves with purpose and speed, and this person has been using that energy to spread information about you. What strikes me about this card is the desperation underneath the bravado. Knights in tarot often represent youth or immaturity, not necessarily in age, but in approach. There is something immature about how this person has been handling whatever situation exists between you. Instead of addressing things directly with you, instead of having honest conversations or dealing with their feelings in a healthy way, they have chosen this path of going to others, of trying to influence how people perceive you. I am seeing that this person has been painting themselves as the victim, as someone who was wronged by you. They have been crafting this narrative where you are the villain in their story, where whatever happened between you was entirely your fault, where they are blameless and you are the source of all the problems. The Knight of Wands energy here tells me they have been doing this with conviction, with passion, really believing their own story, or at least presenting it that way. But here is what they did not count on. Here is where their plan started to unravel. They went to someone, and they thought this person would automatically take their side, would immediately believe everything they said, would join them in their campaign against you. They were so confident in their narrative, so sure that they had painted you in such a negative light that anyone hearing their story would turn against you. They did not do their homework, Pisces. They did not realize who they were talking to. They did not understand the connections, the awareness, the insight that this person they approached actually has. And that brings me to the second card. Death showed up, and I have to tell you, when this card appears in a reading like this, it is not about physical death. It is about transformation, about endings that create space for new beginnings, about the death of illusions and the birth of truth. What I am seeing with death in this position is that the person who heard all these stories about you, who was given this carefully crafted negative narrative, went through a transformation in their understanding. Something died in that conversation, but it was not your reputation. It was not your character. What died was the credibility of the person who was trying to defame you. Death represents these profound moments where you cannot go back, where something fundamental shifts, where the old way of seeing things becomes impossible to maintain. And that is exactly what happened. The person they spoke to started asking questions, started noticing inconsistencies, started picking up on the energy behind the words, not just the words themselves. You see, when someone is speaking from genuine hurt versus when someone is speaking from manipulation and agenda, there is a different vibration to it. There is a different quality to the story, and the person listening picked up on that. Death also represents revelation, that moment when masks fall away and you see what has really been there all along. This individual who was supposed to be convinced of your faults instead started seeing through the performance. They started recognizing that something was not adding up. The more this person talked, the more they revealed about themselves rather than about you. What I am picking up is that this listener is someone who knows human nature. They are someone who has lived enough life to recognize when they are being manipulated, when they are being used as a tool in someone else's vendetta. They have wisdom, they have discernment, and they were not about to be recruited into something without understanding the full picture. And here's where it gets really interesting. The third card I pulled is the Knight of Pentacles. And this is telling me so much about who this person is, the one who heard all these stories about you. Where the Knight of Wands is fast and impulsive and reckless, the Knight of Pentacles is steady, methodical, and thorough. This is someone who does not make quick judgments. This is someone who takes their time to understand situations, who values truth and facts over drama and emotion. The Knight of Pentacles represents someone practical and grounded. They are not swayed by theatrical presentations or emotional manipulation. They want to see evidence. They want things to make sense. They want the story to hold up under examination. And clearly, the story they were being told did not hold up. What I am seeing is that this Knight of Pentacles energy represents someone who started doing their own research, their own investigation. They did not just take what they heard at face value. They started looking into things. Maybe they reached out to other people who know you. Maybe they observed situations themselves. Maybe they just sat with what they were told and realized that it did not match up with other information they had or other experiences they had witnessed. This person is someone who values integrity, Pisces. They value truth. And when they sensed that they were being fed a distorted version of reality, they did not just go along with it to keep the peace or to make the other person happy. They started seeking the actual truth. The Knight of Pentacles does not move fast, but when they move with certainty. And they are moving toward understanding who you really are, not the fiction that was presented to them. I am also getting that this person has some position or some influence or some connection that makes their opinion matter. This is not just a random person who was told stories about you. This is someone whose perspective actually has weight, whose understanding of the situation could impact your life in meaningful ways. That is why the person trying to defame you was so eager to get to them first, to establish their narrative before you had any chance to share your truth. But it backfired spectacularly. And that brings me to the fourth card. The Empress came through, and I have to say, this card filling me with so much validation for you, Pisces. The Empress represents abundance, creativity, nurturing energy, and most importantly, in this context, she represents truth bearing fruit. She is the archetype of the divine feminine, of creation, of bringing things into being. And what she is bringing into being here is a true understanding of who you are. The Empress also represents someone being seen for their actual value, for their actual contributions, for their authentic self. Where someone was trying to make you look destructive or problematic or difficult, the Empress is showing that the truth of your nature is coming through. Your creativity, your caring, your genuine intentions, your actual character, these are what is being recognized now. What I am seeing is that this person who was supposed to turn against you is instead starting to see your Empress qualities. They are seeing your generosity, your authenticity, your ability to nurture and support others. They are seeing the creativity you bring to situations, the life you breathe into things, the genuine care you have for people and projects and causes that matter to you. The Empress does not need to defend herself. Her abundance speaks for itself. Her creations speak for themselves. The garden she has cultivated shows what kind of gardener she is. And Pisces, your garden, your life, the things you have created, and the people you have genuinely cared for, these are starting to speak louder than any defamatory words could ever shout. I am also getting that the Empress represents you being seen by this person as someone who has been through challenges but has maintained your dignity, your grace, your essential goodness. The Empress has weathered storms but continues to bloom. She has faced winters but always brings spring again. And that is what this person is recognizing in you. There is also this element of the Empress where she represents being valued for who you are, not what you do for others or how you serve others' agendas. This person is starting to see you as a complete person with your own worth, your own path, your own gifts. They are not seeing you through the lens of how you fit into someone else's story. They are seeing you as your own story, as your own journey, as your own beautiful, complex human experience. Now, the fifth card really brought everything together for me. The King of Pentacles appeared, and this is confirmation that the person who heard all these stories about you is someone of substance, someone established, someone who has built something real in their life. This is not someone who is easily fooled. This is not someone who plays games. This is someone who has earned their position through years of making sound judgments and seeing through nonsense. The King of Pentacles represents mastery in the material world, yes, but also mastery in understanding how things really work. This king has been around long enough to know that people who go around talking badly about others usually have their own issues they are not addressing. He has learned that those who try hardest to make others look bad are often revealing their own character, not the character of the person they are talking about. What I am picking up is that this King of Pentacles energy is someone who has been in leadership positions, who has had to make judgments about people, who has developed strong intuition about character over years of experience. When they heard these stories about you, their well-developed sense of people told them something was off about the storyteller, not about you. The King of Pentacles is also someone who values results over words, actions over accusations, evidence over emotion. And when they started looking at what you have actually done versus what you were being accused of, the disconnect became obvious. Your actions speak to your character. Your choices reveal your values. And this king is someone who reads actions, not just words. I am seeing that this person may actually be in a position to influence your future in positive ways. The King of Pentacles has resources, connections, opportunities. He is someone who can open doors, who can make introductions, who can provide support or platforms or chances that move your life forward. And instead of being turned against you as was intended, he is actually becoming someone who sees your value and may want to support or assist or connect with you. The irony here is rich, Pisces. The person who tried to poison this king against you actually ended up highlighting your qualities by contrast, by showing their own pettiness, their own manipulation, their own agenda-driven behavior. They made your authenticity shine even brighter. They thought they were building a wall between you and someone important. Instead, they built a bridge by being such a poor example of integrity themselves. Moving to the sixth card, Three of Swords appeared, and this one honestly made my heart hurt for a moment because I know what this represents for you. The Three of Swords is that card of heartbreak, of betrayal, of painful truth. And what I am seeing is that you knew. You knew this person was out there talking about you. You knew they were trying to damage your reputation. You knew they were spreading stories that were not true or were twisted versions of what actually happened. That knowledge has been like a knife through your heart, Pisces. Because maybe you cared about this person once. Maybe you trusted them. Maybe you were vulnerable with them, shared your struggles, let them see sides of you that you do not show everyone. And to have that person take your vulnerabilities, your challenges, your hard times, and use them as ammunition against you, that is one of the deepest betrayals a person can experience. The Three of Swords also represents the pain of being misrepresented, of knowing that people are hearing things about you that are not true, but not being able to control the narrative. There is something particularly painful about knowing your name is being spoken in rooms you are not in conversations you cannot participate in, being defined by someone else's version of events that serves their ego rather than honors the truth. I am seeing that you have been carrying this pain, this wound, this knowledge that someone has been actively working against you in ways you cannot directly confront. The Three of Swords often appears when we feel pierced by circumstances, when the hurt goes deep, when it touches that core place where we hold our sense of being understood and valued by others. But here is what I want you to understand about the Three of Swords in this reading. Yes, it represents pain. Yes, it validates that you have been hurt by this situation. But the Three of Swords also represents necessary pain, the kind of pain that actually cuts through illusion and forces truth to emerge. Sometimes we have to feel the sharp edge of betrayal to recognize who people really are. Sometimes we have to experience the heartbreak to understand what we are actually dealing with. This card is telling me that your pain has been real, but it has also been purposeful. It has been clarifying. It has shown you exactly who this person is beneath whatever mask they wore when they were in your life. It has revealed their true character in a way that years of pleasant interaction never would have. And while that knowledge hurts, it is also protecting you from continuing to trust someone who proved themselves unworthy of that trust. The seventh card is Nine of Wands, and this one speaks to your resilience, Pisces. When I see the Nine of Wands, I see someone who has been through battles, who has faced challenges, who has been tested and has kept standing. This card shows a figure who is wounded but not defeated, tired but not surrendered, weary but not broken. That is you, Pisces. You have been through so much. And this situation with someone trying to defame you is not even the first challenge you have faced. The Nine of Wands tells me you have a history of overcoming, of surviving, of finding the strength to keep going even when things got incredibly difficult. You have fought battles that others do not even know about. You have survived storms that would have destroyed someone with less resilience. What I am picking up is that your lived experience is what is ultimately going to vindicate you. The person who tried to defame you tried to reduce you to a simple villain in their story. But you are not simple. You are complex, you are deep, you have layers of experience and growth and challenges overcome that cannot be captured in someone else's bitter narrative. The Nine of Wands represents someone who has earned their wisdom through experience, not theory. You have lived through things, you have made it through dark nights, you have faced your own shadows and kept moving toward the light. That journey has shaped you into someone with depth, with compassion born from suffering, with understanding born from having to understand yourself deeply. And here is what the Nine of Wands is really telling me in this reading. The person who is learning the truth about you, this King of Pentacles figure, this grounded and discerning person, they recognize the Nine of Wands in you. They see someone who has been through things. They recognize the marks of someone who has survived and grown. They understand that people who have really lived and overcome do not go around trying to destroy others. They go around trying to build and heal and create. The Nine of Wands also says you have been defending yourself, maybe not publicly, but energetically. You have been protecting your peace, maintaining your boundaries, refusing to engage in the drama even when you knew it was happening. You have been choosing dignity over defense, trust in truth over desperate attempts to control the narrative. That has been exhausting, that vigilance, that awareness of being talked about while choosing not to descend into the same behavior. But your restraint, your maturity, your choice to stay on the high road, even when the low road would have been so much easier and more satisfying in the moment, that is showing your character. That is revealing who you really are. The Nine of Wands warrior does not need to prove themselves through aggression. Their scars and their survival prove them. The eighth card absolutely lit me up when it appeared. The Lovers came through, and listen, this is not necessarily about romantic love, although it can include that. The Lovers represents alignment. It represents things coming together in harmony. It represents choices made from the heart, from authentic values, from true connection, rather than obligation or manipulation. What I am seeing with the Lovers in this position is that the right people are being drawn to you, are being aligned with you, are recognizing you as someone they want in their life. While one person tried to create division, tried to separate you from opportunities or relationships or support, the Lovers is saying that authentic connection cannot be destroyed by lies. The person who now knows the truth about what happened, who sees through the defamation, they are being drawn into alignment with you. Not because anyone is forcing it, not because of manipulation, but because on a soul level, on a values level, on an integrity level, there is resonance between you and them. The Lovers represents that magnetic pull of truth, recognizing truth, of authenticity, recognizing authenticity. I am also seeing that the Lovers can represent a choice this person is making. They heard one story, but they are choosing to seek the deeper truth. They are choosing to trust their own discernment over someone else's version of events. They are choosing to form their own opinion of you based on what they can observe and verify rather than what they were told to believe. This is huge, Pisces, because the Lovers is a card of conscious choice, of free will exercised in favor of authentic connection. This person is not being neutral. They are not just deciding not to be against you. They are actively choosing to see you, to understand you, to potentially align with you or support you or advocate for you. That is such a different energy from just not believing the bad stories. That is active choice in your favor. The Lovers also speaks to your own values being recognized and appreciated. You have values, Pisces. You have principles you try to live by, even when it is hard, even when it costs you, even when others do not appreciate it. This person who is coming into true understanding of who you are, they see those values. They recognize them because they share them. They appreciate them because they live by similar principles. There is this beautiful energy of mutual respect developing, of recognition that you are someone worth knowing, worth connecting with, worth having in their sphere. While someone tried to cast you out, the Lovers is bringing you in, drawing you toward connections that actually nourish and support and align with your authentic self. Now, the 9th card brought some interesting energy. 4 of Pentacles appeared, and initially, this might seem like a card about holding on too tightly, about control, about fear of loss. But in this context, what I am seeing is that this person who tried to defame you has been holding on to their version of events so tightly. They have been clutching their narrative, protecting their story, refusing to let any other interpretation exist. The 4 of Pentacles can represent someone who is so invested in being right, in being the victim, in maintaining their version of reality that they cannot allow for any other perspective. This person has been holding on to their grievances against you like precious treasures. They have been protecting their pain, their anger, their sense of having been wronged, because on some level, that story has become their identity. What I am picking up is that this person needs you to be the villain in their story because it makes them the hero, or at least the innocent victim. If they had to acknowledge any complexity, any shared responsibility, any ways they might have contributed to whatever happened between you, their entire self-concept would have to shift. So they are holding on to their simple, clean, black and white version where you are all bad and they are all good. But the 4 of Pentacles also shows that this holding on so tightly actually creates isolation. This person, in their desperate attempt to control the narrative, has revealed something about themselves to the very person they were trying to convince. They have shown their inability to hold nuance, their need to be right, their willingness to distort truth to maintain their ego. The 4 of Pentacles can also represent someone being protective of their resources, their reputation, their position. And I am seeing that the person who heard these stories has resources, connections, influence, and they are not going to share those resources with someone who has shown themselves to be manipulative or untrustworthy. The 4 of Pentacles in this position is actually protecting you from further harm by not allowing this person access to the ears, the influence, the support of this important figure. There is also an element here where the 4 of Pentacles represents a blockage, a stopping point. The person trying to defame you has hit a wall. Their efforts to spread their narrative have been stopped by someone who refused to accept it. They can hold on to their story as tightly as they want, but they cannot make this person believe it, and they cannot make this person turn against you. The 10th and final card is the Lovers. Again, no, wait, let me check these cards again because I want to make sure I am reading this correctly. Actually, I am seeing the Knight of Wands was first, then Death, Knight of Pentacles, the Empress, King of Pentacles, 3 of Swords, 9 of Wands, the Lovers, 4 of Pentacles, and the final card is the Lovers appearing again? No, I need to look at my spread more carefully. Actually, you know what? Let me be fully transparent with you. I laid out exactly 10 cards for this reading, as I always do. And I want to give you the final card that appeared because it really brings everything together in the most beautiful way. That last card I pulled for you is the Lovers, and having this appear as the culmination of this entire situation is so perfect. The Lovers, as the final outcome, says that truth and alignment win. That is what wins in the end, Pisces. Not manipulation, not the fastest talker, not the best storyteller, but truth and authentic connection. The person who tried to turn someone important against you failed because truth has its own power, its own voice, its own way of making itself known. The Lovers in this final position is telling me that you are moving toward connections, relationships, opportunities that are based on who you actually are, not on who someone tried to paint you as. You are being drawn toward people who see you, who get you, who appreciate your authentic self with all its complexity and depth and earned wisdom. I am seeing that this entire situation, as painful as it has been, is actually clearing the path for more authentic connections in your life. It is removing people who were willing to believe lies without question and bringing in people who have the discernment to seek truth. It is separating those who operate from ego and those who operate from integrity. The Lovers also represents healing, Pisces, the healing of being seen, the healing of having someone recognize what you have been through, understand the challenges you have faced, and not judge you for them, but instead respect you for having survived them. There is such deep healing in being understood, in having someone look past the surface story to the deeper truth of who you are. What I want you to take away from this reading is this. Someone tried to defame you, tried to reach an important person and poison their mind against you. But they did not realize that important person has wisdom, has discernment, has the ability to sense when they are being manipulated. They did not realize that truth has its own power. That person now knows something about you. They know your story, your struggles, what you have lived through, but they know it with understanding, with compassion, with recognition of your strength and resilience. They know it in a way that honors you rather than condemns you. The universe has this way of making sure truth reaches the people who need to hear it. Someone tried to use their voice to harm you, but in doing so, they gave voice to your story in a way that ended up revealing your truth to someone who matters. They thought they were closing a door. They opened one instead. So hold on to that, Pisces. Hold on to the knowing that your authentic self is being seen and valued by people who have the wisdom to recognize authenticity when they encounter it. Hold on to the truth that you do not need to defend yourself to everyone, because the right people will see you clearly without you having to say a word.